Well, the Lakers are looking to get back on top. They're playing their best basketball at the right time. So let's go in the bonus on what we've seen as of late. Because LA's won 13 of their last 15 games. They vaulted up to the 3 seed in the West. And the last time they had a better 15-game span, that was all the way back in early 2019-2020. What happened later that season? Well, they won the NBA title. And now LA, they're up 2 in the loss column for the 3 seed. They have the 9th easiest remaining schedule that is by opponent win percentage. And that easier schedule, it continues their next 2 games. They're at home against the Nets, and they're at home against the Washington Wizards. And Luka, I mean, he's on a tear right now. He's averaging just under 40 points a game over his last 11 games. That's his most in an 11-game stretch in his career, the most by a Laker since Kobe in 2007. And yes, he is listed as questionable tonight, but what he is doing, it deserves a closer examination, particularly, Jeremy, in isolation. What are you saying?
Thanks, Malika. For me as a player, whenever I'm guarding somebody, I watch film because every player has a tendency. They have patterns. There's a story. What is Luka's story? What is his tendency? He loves the ball in isolation in his left hand, and his favorite move is a left to right through the legs. Now from here, we get to his first read. So as we can see, this tendency as he goes left to right through the legs gives him 2 options. Either he can step back to his left, or he can continue driving to his right. Here's 2 great examples. So here he comes off, ball on his left, through the legs, too much space, patented step back. Bam cannot give him that much space, and that's an easy 3-pointer. Now, as we go to the next clip, here he has the same thing, left to right through the legs, but this time the defender is jammed up. So he drives and gets right to his spot, easy floater. Luka has the softest touch of any player in the NBA, and that's just way too easy for him. So every good offensive player is looking at their defensive players' feet. That's the most important thing. So you have 3 options. If I have the ball in my left hand, you could have your right foot high. Now, what's the worst thing you want to do as a defender?
I don't want to flip my hips. I don't want to drop step.
It's the hardest to recover from a drop step. So if the ball is in Luka's left hand, the easiest move for him to make is to drive left and force this drop step. So you will never see a defender have his right foot up when the ball is in Luka's left hand. The second option is not really an option. Feet square. This is an absolute no-no in basketball because you're dead both ways and you have to drop step both ways, so you won't ever see this. When the ball is in Luka's left hand, the defender will have his left foot high. And that's exactly why Luka goes to a left to right through the legs. The goal is to be able to force you to drop step. Now, as he makes his first move, if he sees this amount of space, that's the Luka Magic patented step back 3. But if you're pressed up, he goes through the legs. He's going to drive, force the drop step, get right to where he wants to get to. He can get it to his floater or his pull-up jumper, and that is absolutely what he wants to do, but it's not always that easy. Sometimes he gets cut off. So this goes into his second read. As we can see here, if he gets cut off immediately, he will spin into a step-back 3-pointer. He loves that. But if he gets cut off later, he will get into a floater or a mid-range. Here's 2 great examples. So this first one, Kevin Huerter cuts him off early. He's going to go into a step-back 3-pointer. Too much space, and this is just everything that he wants, and he will shoot 10 of these in a game if he can. Now the second one, he drives, he gets cut off later, and he can get right into an easy spin move because he's in the middle of the paint. And that goes right into his floater and 1. And so this is the same thing. He starts, ball on his left, left to right through the legs. You cut me off early, I'm spin, step back, trying to go for 3 points. If I go, same thing, and I'm able to get some space, now you cut me off later, he can get right into this, and at this point, he doesn't need too much. He's already in his position. He's tall, he's strong, and he can shoot every type of shot. There is, however, one way to stop Luka. Help! That's to send the double team. And so here we can see, this is a great example with the Houston Rockets. Jabari Smith on him. He goes left to right through. He gets cut off, so he's going to step back and try to go for a 3-pointer. But as he does that, Jabari Smith is right there. He realizes he doesn't have the space. He continues to drive, gets into another step back, and now comes the double team. He passes it. They're in a blender. We get a Marcus Smart wide open 3-pointer. This is exactly why the Lakers are doing so well. This is exactly why Luka is tearing up the league.
Yeah.
And when you talk about a deep bag, he has the deepest bag. He is a generational scorer. We talked about the ball in his left hand. We haven't even talked about the ball in his right. We haven't talked about triple threat. We haven't talked about back to the basket isolation.
Yeah.
He can score and do everything, and that's exactly why he's averaging 40 over 11 games.
And this is also why, I mean, there's no player that you send more double teams against. There's really no player that's better at getting out of them than Luka Doncic. Jeremy, thank you. That was really, really insightful. Tim, you can go ice your news.
I didn't get scored on one.
Let's get to some news this morning. We can change that. Don't test me. All right, it's our top story because tanking has been an issue under renewed scrutiny this week. Adam Silver, he spoke at the NBA Board of Governors meeting about the league's need to address it. Here is what Adam Silver said.
There is an aspect of team building that is called a genuine rebuild, rebuild with integrity. The problem we're having these days is it's become almost impossible to distinguish between a tank and a rebuild. We're now into it with coaches' decisions on lineups and when players come in and out of the game, injuries, pain levels of players. Yes, we need to do something more extreme than we did with those incremental changes the last 4 times along.
So today, our Shams Charania, he reported on 3 different proposals that the league is going to review to try to address tanking. All right, so stay with me here. Here's the first proposal, and it's that 18 teams, the bottom 10, and then the 8 play-in teams, they would be a part of the lottery. Right now, remember, it's the bottom 5 teams in each conference plus only the 4 play-in teams that lost, that didn't make it out of the plan. So in this new plan, it is the bottom 10 teams each having an 8% shot at moving up, while the remaining 20%, they would be split amongst the next 8 teams. All 18 spots are drawn as a part of the lottery. All right, that's proposal 1. In the second proposal, 22 teams, they would take part in the lottery, ranked by records across 2 seasons. And each team, they would need to reach a minimum win total each season, or else their record for the lottery purposes, it would be lifted to that minimum threshold. So if you're saying, what the heck, what does this mean? You're not alone. I think an example is the best way to try to explain this, so stay with me here. Let's say the Wizards, they're to go 20-62 this year. And then to keep the math easy, let's say they go 30-52 the next year. The NBA is saying their 2-win total is 55. Let me try to explain why. They're taking their 30 wins in year 2, and then in year 1, they're saying it's 25 wins because they don't want teams to be bad for years and years in a row. That's what they're trying to stop. To be honest, that's my least favorite proposal. That brings us to the third. That's where 18 teams would take part in the lottery. It's increased from 14. That's where we're at right now. And the teams with the 5 worst records, they would have the same odds in descending order from there. And there would be a lottery drawing for each of the first 5 picks, and then there would be a second drawing for the remaining 13 teams with protections in place to prevent the worst teams from falling too far. Right now, you're drawing for the top 4, all right? So with that as the proposals, we welcome in the man who reported on this. And Shams, I'm hoping you can help me explain this a little bit better than I just did. What more can you tell us about these proposals and the tanking that the league is trying to fix here?
Malika, in talking to stakeholders over the last 24 hours, one thing that's been made very clear to me is there are no perfect solutions to tanking and the problem that the league has identified. All 3 of these radical new changes, these concepts that were given to the league's board of governors, they're put in place potentially to prevent teams and de-incentivize teams from jockeying for the bottom of the NBA, to manipulate the rosters, manipulate the lineups. So let's take a look at all 3 of these different formats, these different concepts. I'll start with the 2 18-team formats. This variation we're looking at here now has flattened odds. So the top 10 teams all have the same chance for the number 1 pick. It really mitigates teams from trying to lose or try to protect, get to their pick protection potentially, because it goes back to what the NBA used to have, which is flattened odds. The second variation of the 18 teams format has been dubbed internally around the league as the 5x5. That means that the bottom 5 teams in the NBA will then have equal odds for the top NBA draft pick. And then the 22-team format is the same 18 teams we've been talking about, plus the 4 first-round exits. So that does make it a little interesting, a little exciting. That has the 2-year records, though, as the weighted pool, and that's similar to the WNBA. And this will also have the win total floor accounted for. So let's say if you win 14 games and the floor is 25 games, well, you get bumped up to 25 games as far as how the NBA is going to handle the draft lottery. And so that mitigates teams trying to lose. Let's say you need to get to 16 wins to get your protected pick. So all of these concepts will continue to be modified. All the owners are going back to their general managers, their president, talking through these concepts, digesting them, seeing the ramifications at play here, the unintended consequences as well. And around all of this, Malika, I'm told Adam Silver will also expect to have wide-ranging disciplinary powers that if there are offenders to these rules after the tanking concept is put into place, that he's going to have even wider powers to potentially have an impact around the league.
Interesting. Okay, so in that last proposal that you were saying, if the #1 seed is bounced in the first round, then they could have still a chance at getting that top pick, which does make things maybe a little bit more interesting. Shams, thank you for taking the time to explain that to us here on NBA Today. As we bring it back inside our Los Angeles studio, Brian, I was taking notes as Shams was talking because this is complex. What do you think of this?
The idea that this is all going to be figured out by mid-May, which is what Adam Silver said, I think that's a pipe dream. I'm sorry. There's going to be way too much jockeying for position and trying to break. And I want to acknowledge it's hard. I don't want to say, like, I have a better idea. I want to acknowledge that fixing something that they've been trying to fix for 40 years is hard. The idea that this is going to be fixed full stop by May, when they have to put these new rules in so the teams know how to go about this next season, I just think that is unrealistic. And the other thing is, the concept that the NBA will be able to use discipline, their enforcement has been absolutely all over the place. And, frankly, I would be like, well, what's your discipline? Tell me what your discipline is, because I want to know what the penalties are, because a lot of these teams will instantaneously be wanting to break these new rules. So I will say from 10,000 feet, it looks like they want to have teams that make the playoffs or the postseason involved in the lottery. That is in all these proposals. That I can say for sure. After that, I can't say anything for sure. It doesn't look to me like there's enough incentivizing winning in there. It's hard for me to peel it back. Right. There's a little bit, but it doesn't. There still looks like there's a lot of incentivizing losing in there.
Well, that seems to be a little bit of the problem here, Tim, is that on the one hand, the NBA is saying, well, we don't want you to lose too much, but on the other hand, we still have to reward. We can't take bad teams out of this completely, and that inherently creates this tension.
And listen, Adam Silver has had disciplinary power. What is the biggest fine that he's given out for tanking? It was to the Dallas Mavericks a few seasons ago. They weren't tanking to bottom out. They were tanking to avoid the play-in because they had a top 10 protected pick that they needed to keep, okay? That's the kind of tanking that I'm concerned about, especially with these 18-team policies. If it's 8% odds if you don't make the play-in, but 2% odds if you do, who the hell's going to want to be a 10 seed?
They're going to tank out of that.
Are you kidding
me? It's not enough incentive to win.
Well, and if you were to ask Dallas whether or not they would tank again for that fine and get Derek Lively and then go back to the NBA Finals again like they did the following year, they probably would take it.
And that's what the NBA is really struggling with. How do they make tanking not smart strategy? And tanking is not just bottoming out, but intentionally losing games to manipulate where you land.
Yeah, so these are the 3 proposals that the NBA is chewing on right now. They are complicated. It's taking us a little bit of time to process them, but Adam Silver says by May, we are going to have this thing, at least a new solution that we haven't had in the past. We shall see. All right.